Okay, hey everybody. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. So today we're doing a yard job, cutting up some logs for Mr. Banning, and we actually logged his timber about a year ago. And these trees were some storm damaged trees that blown down in the storm. And anyway, we came back to help him clean these trees up and sell the logs for him to help pay for some of the damages. And what I wanted to do is take y'all along. I've got my Steel 066. I call her Annie. I don't use it very often unless I'm in bigger trees. And I want to take y'all along with me and Annie and let y'all see how I buck these bigger logs because they can pinch your saw real easy and do a lot of damage and whatnot. So I thought maybe I'd just kind of show y'all how I do it. I'm not saying it's right or the best way, but it's how I do it, and maybe to help some of you. So just kind of watch what I do, pay attention, and I'll try to give you some pointers as we go along. Now what I'm doing here is marking the logs on this tree. I want to saw the logs out, kind of mark them, get an idea of what we can get out of this tree. There's knots all over it, so it's not going to be nothing high grade. It's just going to mainly be for ties and pallet lumber. So I'm just marking it here to cut them into logs and seeing what we can get. As y'all can see, the knots limbs has already been cut off of it, but we're going to go back and trim up these a little bit to kind of slick the logs up a little better. It's better for the mill that way to get all them knots slicked up as good as you can. Now right here where my saw is a real rough place. It's got some big knots, double hearts, that goes to the center. And I wanted to just cut that little section out from that last log that we marked. And then this out here on the end, see how it's cracked? And then it's got a double heart right there on the end. So what I'm doing there is I'm measuring it to see what I could actually get if I were to cut that little section out. So what I'm gonna do is cut it out first, cut the end of it off, and then I'm going to measure back from there to get my log out. And here I'm just double checking my measurements to make sure I can make it work. Now notice how I pull out, y'all, and then kind of keep my tip of my bar in the log and run around to the bottom and bore through and then plunge out the bottom of the log. Because the bottom is the compression side. See how there's nothing in, nothing under that log on the end? Now I'm going to saw down from the top and let it drop right off just like that. But if I hadn't went in and undercut it down on the bottom, it wouldn't have had no space to relieve itself, and whenever I got almost cut through it, it might have grabbed my saw and took it to the ground with it. So that's why I did that. And most of the logs I'm cutting out here, y'all, you'll see the way I do it. I will start at the top and kind of come around the log with the tip of my bar, bore in on the bottom, and plunge out on the bottom side and then come back up to the top again. So that'll kind of give you an idea about how I'm bucking it. Now, as I start down through this saw log, y'all watch that kerf over there on the top start to open up, and watch that log out on the end as it starts to fall. See that kerf opening up now? And notice also how I kind of jerked my saw back right whenever it went to fall. I wanted to get my saw out of there as quick as I could. Now, sometimes I'll just cut straight down through it, but the main thing, y'all, is watch the kerf. Watch the kerf, watch the kerf, watch the kerf. And watch what I do right here at the end, how I'm easing on the throttle and I start pulling my saw out and kind of going back and forth, that's so I can feel it. If it starts to get sticky, I'll know if it's starting to close up on me. And then I cut just a little bit on the bottom here, and now I've got to go over to the other side and finish it off. But I'm going to work on this other butt log right quick, and then we'll go over to the other side. Now notice how I get up here on this log and I watch my bar tip, y'all, because I definitely don't want to get my chain in the dirt. This is a 28-inch full skip on this 066, and it's doing a right nice job for me. It's pulling out some good chips, and I do not want to dull my saw, so I don't want to get it in the dirt, because it can dull your saw chain in just a split second. Always be mindful of where your saw tip of your bar is while you're bucking or felling. It's most important to know. And in this case, y'all, on this butt cut, it was down in the dirt just a little bit. So I went ahead and drove this wedge in just so I could use my axe to pick the log up if I needed to, and also keep it from closing up so much to where it would pinch my saw. So I mean, if you have to, y'all, there's no shame in using a wedge. I would rather use that wedge and not mess up a good saw chain or a bar rather than, you know, not use it and somebody call me a sissy or whatnot because I'm using it or whatever. I don't mind to be called a sissy. It's my saw, it's my saw chain, and I'm the one that has to pay for it. So, and you see there how that wedge did the job. Now the reason why this cut didn't make it here from the other side is because of this knot right here on the end. This is a real dirty tree, y'all. This tree's not going to grade out real good. It's just going to be for tie and a pallet. So just to kind of give you an idea of how I go about bucking and wine, all that kind of good jazz. And right there, y'all, I touched just a little bit of dirt, and that's going to make it a little harder on me getting these knots trimmed up. And you'll notice it in my sawdust. You want to be pulling chips. You don't want to be pulling dust. When you start pulling dust, y'all, you need to just stop what you're doing and sharpen your chain. Now, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we're going to go back and trim all these knots up, y'all, because it'll slick these logs up and make them nicer for the sawmill to handle. And when you're doing this, when you're trimming these knots, especially the ones close to the bottom, you just got to be real mindful where that tip of that bar is, because you definitely don't want to get it into the dirt or rocks or, you know, anything like that, because it'll dull your saw chain so fast, and then it'll just be a tremendous amount of work and no amount of fun for you. Annie here, she's a good saw, good strong running saw. This saw has been very dependable. It's one of the best saws I have. I've got two 046s, and I've got Annie here, this 066. And these older saws, for me, I love them. I love running them. I can work on them real easy, and they've always done me a good job, so I stick with them. Now, I certainly hope what little bit I showed you there, bucking that red oak up. I didn't want to wear y'all out on anything in particular. I just kind of wanted to show you a little bit about this job and how we go about it. But I hope maybe to help you, those of you that like to cut firewood, or even if you're starting out logging or whatnot and you hadn't run a saw a whole lot and you just need a little help, maybe something I told you there might help you. Now here I've got the skid steer loading some white oak logs out of the tree that fell right by the barn over there. It was two big logs that come out of it, and we've got a few others in different places. We had about 6 different trees, y'all, that we had to process. It wound up being about 2,100 board feet of logs this morning, and this was a yard job, just something quick to do, and helping a friend of ours, and also being able to make a little money too. So it worked out for both of us. But on this job, y'all, all we needed was a skid steer, saw, and a log truck. It worked out pretty good. Now, y'all, I ain't gonna have a full load on this load here. This is probably, it's better than half a load, but probably not quite 3/4. So, and I got enough logs left, and I'll show you all that right quick. I've got a couple small logs right there, and then I've got a couple trees, some big logs right over there, and a couple more small ones. So I want to get all this wood up for the landowner and do a nice little cleanup job for him. And I want to get all the logs hauled in because that's going to help him, pay for this cleanup that he's had to do. So I want to maximize what we can do. There's no way I could get the rest of them logs on that we've got cut. There's no possible way. So I'm just going to go ahead and haul this little piece of load, and then I'm going to come back and get the other piece of load. So what it's going to wind up being, y'all, it's going to probably wind up being like a load and a half, maybe like 2 3/4 loads. I hate to make 2 trips, but it is what it is. And that's some of the things, I wanted to tell y'all about, about mule logging and hauling logs and cleaning up and stuff like that. I mean, this kind of work is all part of it, y'all. And the mules, I love my mules and I love working them, but there's a lot of stuff like this that has to be done that I don't get to include the mules in on. Really, because this job, we got to use skid steer to load anyway. So there's really no point in bringing them whenever the logs are right here. We can get right to them, And this would be, in my opinion, will be considered a yard job, like going and cleaning up, around the house or whatnot. That's what I would consider this. And that's another reason why I want the bumper pull panel hitch, to go on red here. So that way, we could haul the skid steer behind the log truck. And I tell you something else, if we had the panel hitch and had some temporary log stands made for it, I could put the temporary log stands on today, load them other logs on the panel hitch, and carry both loads in at one time. That would really help us a lot, as far as not having to make 2 trips, burning more gas. But it is what it is. But the panel hitch would be nice on these yard jobs, as I call them, because I can take everything in one lick. I can take the chainsaws, I can take the skid steer, I can take, the log truck, everything I need to get the logs to the mill and do the cleanup work. I can have it all in one spot. So that'll be, nice whenever the time is right. Right now we still got a little ways to go, but time is on our side. Now I'm not going to bore y'all with trying to show you what all I've got left to do as far as getting these logs up and whatnot. Y'all know the deal. I just was sharing some of my time with you this morning. And look, I want to thank y'all for sharing your time with me. I know I tell you thank you in the comments and all that kind of stuff, but look, y'all, I wouldn't have a YouTube channel if it weren't for y'all. I mean, if y'all didn't support us and watch our videos and like and comment and all that good stuff, we wouldn't even have a YouTube channel. So thank you for your time and being here and hanging out with me. You know, I'm out here by myself. I mean, we're right next door to my house. You know, I'm doing this as a favor to my neighbor. And my wife's at home, but still, I'm out here working by myself. And being able to hang out with y'all and, you know, video this for you and then get to talk to you in the comments and hear what y'all, you know, what y'all think, and, you know, hearing stories from maybe how y'all used to do things. And look, the ones of you that don't even know nothing about this, know nothing about log trucks or skid steers or chainsaws or mules or anything, and you're just here to hang out to have a good time, I love you too. You know, I love all of y'all, everybody that's watching and taking time, giving me your time. I appreciate it. I can't tell you enough. I really do. And again, I'm gonna put my email up here on the screen so y'all can get up with me if you need to. You can email me if we need to. We'll exchange phone numbers. We'll talk. I'm always glad and willing to help anybody I can whenever I can. I've had a lot of people help me along the way, and I like to return the favor when I can. So y'all, thank you again. May the Lord bless you. Have a good day. I'll be praying for you, and I'm going to see you next time.